Episode of the Technical Explanation Show, and today my guest is Carlus Mansel. Carlos, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, Bryce, man. Doing really good. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, dude, it's a pleasure to have you on. You've been so flexible. We probably spoke several weeks ago. I probably rescheduled on you a couple times, so that's my fault. But
I don't know.
you still made it happen, so I really, really appreciate it, man.
No, I appreciate your passion, man. I appreciate what you're doing, man. This is awesome. This is really good. So thank you very much.
Yeah, well, you just said something before we hopped on. You've been talking wrestling most of the day, and so any day you get to do that, man, it's a good day, right?
It is a good day.
All
You know the season's about to start when your buddies start calling you, right?
right.
And the videos gonna start flying around, and everybody's looking at good call, bad call. It's a good time. It's a good time.
Yeah, I had a little bit of that going on yesterday. Some of actually the first guest, Harry McDonald, and one of the last guests that hasn't gone live yet, Evan Burchett, is
Oh yeah.
they were both at Super 32, so they're sending me pictures, which I love that.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but Evan, he's 30 years old. He's been officiating for 15 out of 30 of his years. Okay, he had that 106-pound match yesterday with
Oh, the
both
final. Yeah, the final. Yeah.
yeah, and Knox, and I'm just like, I want to talk to you about that. That would have.
No, I work with Evan at Super 32. We spent most of the day together on Sunday. So he and we did the quarters and the semis together. So I got to spend a lot of time with Evan on Sunday.
You were there too.
I was there too. Yeah, I was there too. Yeah, I was there with Harry and Evan, and so yeah, I spent a lot of. I've known Evan for a number of years. He's a great friend and a great ref.
It's so crazy because it's like now I'm getting to talk with all these officials and like how everyone's working together and how how it comes together. And I remember, oh yeah, that's probably who introduced us. Um, oh hey, where are you located like physically?
I am in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm actually at work right now. I'm a mortgage banker by trade, so I do mortgage loans. But I am in Greenville, South Carolina. It's in the upstate of South Carolina. It's kind of in between Charlotte and Atlanta. So that's where I am.
Okay, awesome. Hey, mortgage. Have we talked about that too? We can talk about that.
Mortgages too. I do mortgages too. That's right.
Well, I told my cousin if I can figure out how to talk about finance and wrestling, that'd be a really niche podcast, maybe for
Finance and wrestling.
so. Let's start how I like to always start with wrestling stories. Like, what was your first exposure to wrestling?
Oh man, I started wrestling uh, in high school. In high school, this is kind of a funny story. I wanted to, as a freshman in high school. Of course, I grew up in South Carolina. At the time, this was 30 plus years ago. It wasn't a hotbed for wrestling. Of course, it's still not, but we've improved over the years. But I was a freshman in high school, and I wanted to play basketball. And so I went to go try out for the basketball team, a high school basketball team, and you of course you go to the meetings and they give you the parental permission slip. So you got to take home, and your parents got to okay you trying out for the basketball team. Well, I took the permission slip to my mom that night, and she said, "I'm not signing this." She goes, "You can't play basketball." I said, "Mom, what are you talking about? I'm good at basketball." She goes, "You're too short to play basketball." So she didn't sign the form. She goes, "No, no, that's a waste of time. You're too short." So I was kind of bummed out. But on the school bus, I had a buddy of mine who was on a wrestling team, and I was kind of telling him about my problems. And he said, "Hey, man, why don't you wrestle?" He said, "You ought to come out for wrestling, and I think you could be pretty good at wrestling." So I went to the wrestling meeting, got the form, and my mom said, "Fine, you can wrestle because short guys wrestle." So that's how I got involved with wrestling my freshman year, and started through high school and wrestled in high school. I was decent in high school, but I wasn't very good overall. But that's how I got into wrestling, and then I got into officiating after I got out of college, and I needed a few extra bucks, and so that's how I got into reffing, and then just kind of took off from there.
So your mom, we owe your mom then.
We owe. That's right. Well, yeah. All the coaches say it's his mom's fault. That's right.
uh, my cousin, I think he's right. One of my cousins I get to coach with, he says wrestlers are only as strong as their moms.
That's right. That's
And
right.
I found that to be true. So you said you needed some extra money in college. You became an official. Like once you were done, it sounds like there's a little bit of a breaking there. Did you go straight into officiating in college, or did you miss something, or?
All right. In college, I went to the University of South Carolina, of course, that they don't have wrestling. So I did some club wrestling then, and so I just basically I didn't worry about wrestling at all. But then I got married, had a kid after I got out of college, and realized I needed extra money, and I figured, well, let me get into officiating. And so that's when I began to officiate a few years after I got married. So I ref for probably about 5 years. And then I took time off because the kids got older, right? When the kids get older, you got to spend more time at home. So I took time away from officiating. And so the last 10, 15 years or so, that's when I really got back into officiating after the kids had grown up a little bit more and I could devote more time away from the family to officiating. So I've been hot and heavy again as an official for the last 10, 15 years plus.
Awesome. So 10, 15 years. I want to put a pin in that really quick. You mentioned family. How many kids do you have?
I've got 3 kids, and I've got 4 grandsons.
Oh, congrats.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So my the joke in my family is, my son-in-law is was a football coach, so he's a football guy. But I've told my daughters that, hey, out of my 4 grandsons, I need at least one wrestler. I don't care who it is. So out of my 4 grandsons, you guys got to pick who the wrestler's going to be. So I'm waiting for that. So
Jury's still out on that one.
Jury's still out. Yeah, my oldest grandson, he's 10, about to turn 11. He ain't the toughest guy in the world. So I'm not counting on him. But I got 3 more grandsons to go. I got 3 more to go to. 2 of them are twins. So 2 of them are twins. So so they're pretty honorary and pretty feisty now. So they're 4 years old. So I'm hoping maybe they become the wrestlers in the family.
Yeah, I mean, they've got built-in partners, wrestling partners, right? Not everyone gets a built-in wrestling partner.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. That's what I'm doing.
So awesome. Hey,
thank you. Right. That's exactly right.
Thanks for that. Now I'm going to take that pin out that I said I was going to put in there. The last 10 to 15 years, you said you've been focusing on wrestling. We've talked a little bit. I mean, you're doing the Big 12 finals now. When you say focus on, tell me a little bit more about that.
I've just been doing more, just been calling more matches. And so I got started on the high school level. And of course, when you call the state tournament, man, it's like a drug. You're like, wow, these guys are really good. And then you want to be able to, at least for me, I just wanted to call the highest level of wrestling that I could. And unfortunately, we got a couple guys in our state who were able to get us into some higher level high school events like Super 32, like the Senior Nationals up in Virginia Beach. So I was able to get in some of those events and begin to kind of call just a different level of wrestling other than what's in South Carolina. And so I got into those events and just really had a great time. Began to enjoy myself even more because you're calling some of the best high school wrestlers in the country. And then eventually you're like, man, I'm having fun calling these upper level high school kids. I want to try my hand at college. So about 5 years ago, I said, I want to start calling college matches. And so I got into the college side, and here again is I was able to align with some people who were able to kind of put me in a situation to do well. And I went to a clinic in Alabama, sponsored by Ryan Hagan. And when I went to that clinic in Alabama, Ryan had invited some of the best college officials in the country, guys like Matt Sorchinski, J.R. Johnson, Mike McCormick, and Kenny Ritchie. And so that's where I was able to meet and connect with these guys. And Kenny Ritchie had pity on me. He liked me, and he was able to get me involved in the Big 12. He invited me to be a Big 12 conference official, and this was I think about 4 years ago. And so that's when I got into the Big 12, and things kind of took off from there. I was able to call some of the best wrestlers in the country on the college side, and it's worked out pretty well for me. I was able to call the Big 12 championships. Then I was selected to be a Division II official 2 years ago, and then this past year I was fortunate enough to be selected to call the Division I championships in St. Louis. So it's been kind of a fast and furious ride here, but it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of hard work, but it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so you had mentioned that at the beginning there before you kind of told your ascension story, if you will. With that's not the best word, but I mean, you said you were given some opportunities, right? But
Yep.
it's one thing to be given an opportunity, right? But it's another thing to take full advantage of it, and like
Yes.
put your best work forward. So obviously you've done that to go from high school and saying, hey, I did the senior tournament. Now what's the next thing, right?
Correct.
And you climb that ladder. So that's awesome. It's a testament to you and the work you do on the mat.
Well, I mean, your life situation's got to work out for you, right? You got to be able to, because it is a grind, Bryce. I mean, I'm fortunate enough that Super 32 is only 2.5 hours from my house, but Virginia Beach is 6 hours, and all these other events, man, you got to be willing to make the sacrifice to get better as an official. And that's something I had the support of my family and other people in the officiating community to be able to help me along that way. But it is a sacrifice. It does not happen overnight, and you got to be willing to put in the work for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just the travel aspect too. I mean, you mentioned Matt Sorochinsky, and when I got to speak with him, he told me a lot of things I never even thought about, like the film study that you guys do, or the workouts that you have to do, just because every year you're getting older. You can't get hurt. You can't officiate if you're hurt.
Yep.
If you're not watching film and doing these other things, or texting or saying, hey, did you see this call? Like,
Sure.
what do you think? And doing all that stuff that no one really thinks about, right? Probably think you put on your pants and grab your whistle and step out on the mat. It's just not how it goes.
Guys don't realize it, and that's one thing we try to impart with a younger official is that, hey man, if you want to get good at this officiating gig, then you got to put in work in the off season. You've got to you got to kind of put your ego aside, you got to put your pride aside, and you got to be able to look at yourself on video. You got to critique yourself, and you got to be willing to make changes in how you officiate, and you got to be willing to accept some constructive criticism from other guys is what you need to be able to do. And then if you can do all those things, then yeah, I think you can be a successful official and be able to change and to get better as an official. So yeah, we are always looking at ways that we can get better. We're always critiquing ourselves, and we get criticized. We do get criticized, but when you realize that, man, this job is hard, and these kids are really good at wrestling, and it's okay to make a bad call, but you just got to learn from it. The best refs will learn from a bad call and then grow from that bad call. And I think if you can do that as an official, then the sky's the limit for you. If you're willing to make adjustments in the way you officiate and to take that constructive criticism from other refs, then you're going to go a long way.
I'm going to make an unsolicited comment here, but in doing some of these things, I think one of the big things that really separates the folks like yourself that have been able to get to the D2, D1, D3 level of college wrestling is they are able to kind of put their ego aside for a little bit. It's hard for anyone to do,
Yep.
right? But when you are out on a mat and you're just getting berated by coaches all the time and stuff, and if you don't use that opportunity, I'm going to call it, it's not a fun opportunity, but if you don't use that to grow in the right way, then you kind of grow the opposite way, right?
That's
and
right.
then when you're not listening to people and you've clearly maybe made a mistake or done something not as well as you could do, those opportunities to take those classes and go to the next level and do the state tournament and do those things, you kind of shoot those away, right? So it's really important. That's what I'm noticing, at least from the people like you.
It's huge, man. It's huge. But it starts with you doing your own homework, right? Coaches are going to coach. That's what they're going to do. And we've got to realize coaches, I mean, they're biased in their opinion, which is good. I mean, that's why they're coaches. But you've got to be able, you got to do your homework. You got to know when that tough call is there, and you got to be ready for the moment is what you have to be. And then you got to be able to justify that call by explaining why you made that call to your assistant official or to another coach. So you got to be able, you got to put yourself in that situation, and you got to be able to navigate your way through it. And the only way to do that is just through experience and through preparation and doing work in the off season. So when that tough call comes, and it's going to come for all of us, you got to be ready to make that tough call. And then you got to be able to justify it with a coach.
Yeah. I've been saying this. I'm 3 classes away from getting my license. I'm probably not going to officiate this year because I do other things with wrestling. But this last week on Sunday, had a really good opportunity. And it was about, we're learning all the basic stuff, but it's about, when you're called to the table and there's a challenge, it's not good enough to go to the table and say, look, coach, it was a judgment call. I made my judgment. Like, that's the absolute worst thing you can say. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people listening to this, hopefully not the officials, but we've all heard that. And it just doesn't sit right. It's like, wait a minute. No, I just want to know, like, why. So the next time that happens, I don't react this way. Because, right, if the coach gets upset, all the fans get upset right away because the coach is supposed to know the rules. That's so right. If he goes off, loses it immediately. Now it's not just the coach versus the official; it's everyone in those school colors, right?
And whether it's right or wrong, you might get defensive as a ref, right? Because hey, if it's me against them. But we've been preaching on the high school level. Whenever we talk to other officials, and then of course on the college, you got to think the sport. You got to get to the point where you're able to think through situations and be able to understand certain situations and know what weaknesses you have as an official and say, hey man, I'm not too strong in this area, right? Whatever the case may be. And then you got to be able to realize when those situations arise, and then you got to be able to hone in on that and make the right call. But you got to understand what you're calling. If you don't understand what you're calling, then these coaches are going to eat you alive. And if you can't communicate with them why you made that call, then you might get into some trouble with the coaches. And like you said, then everything can escalate from there. But at the same time, though, a coach might be wrong. And you got to explain to them, coach, no, I'm good with that call. This is why I'm good with the call. Right. And then go from there.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. I mean, who's the one that studies the rule book? Not many coaches. I'm a coach. I haven't studied my rule book in years. Right. I'll admit it. I hope no officials that I get to have officiating matches this year. I hope they know I am reading my rule book now. So when you talk about that introspection of like understanding, hey, maybe this is an area I can improve, what are some things, or how did you go about, and you don't have to say what it was, but I mean, how do you go and try to backfill those weaknesses, right? Because we all have strengths and things that we do really, really well. And everyone's going to have those, but it's about identifying the things that you don't do well and then doing something about them. So what are some things people could do?
Well, I mean, hopefully guys are getting evaluations. Evaluations were really good for me. And I'll tell you, I got a bad evaluation at the state tournament by our state of one of our state evaluators. He gave me a bad evaluation at the state tournament. And at that, up until that point, I'd never gotten a bad evaluation. But he pointed out some flaws in my officiating that I need to work on. And then, once I got past being pissed off because I got a bad evaluation, I was able to make changes. And then I made those changes because I think right after I got that bad evaluation, I went up to Virginia Beach and I got another evaluation. And this evaluator, he said the same thing that the guy in South Carolina had said. Hey, you got a lot of strengths, but these are some things that you need to work on. And then when I got that same evaluation, I said, well, I might want to make some changes. And I did make some changes. I put my ego aside and I made those changes to the way I officiated. And then, I think things kind of took off from there. But I was able to see those weaknesses were pointed out to me by evaluators. So the evaluation process is huge. So hopefully all officials are getting evaluated, and hopefully they're willing to make those changes, because the evaluators they're just trying to help you. They're not trying to help you. The reason they're taking the time is because they want you to be a better official. And hopefully all referees will understand that whenever I get information from an evaluator, it's just an opportunity to improve. It's just an opportunity to grow. And that evaluator is seeing things that maybe you don't see as an official. And we really should take the opportunity to make that change. And then you got to be able to say, oh, why is he asking me to do this? Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I will make this change then. And then, so we got to, here again, put that ego aside, be willing to take that constructive criticism and to change as an official and grow.
So is it pretty fair to, like, at the big tournaments, you just came from Super 32. I'm sure that there's evaluations going on there probably. right?
Yep.
The Clash, I know they do that. Like on the state level, is it pretty typical? Like once you get, I don't know what they call in South Carolina, but here it goes sectionals, district, state. Like
Right.
around that time, are there evaluations going on like at the state, kind of the postseason tournaments? Because I don't think at 8-man Bryce Roth Invitational, there's not too many people with a clipboard evaluating, or to my knowledge.
Well, on the high school level, at least in our state, there is. We have peer evaluations, right, where we will have the head official do some evaluations, but we have assigned evaluators in South Carolina that are assigned to a particular district. We got 4 districts, and we have 4 evaluators that have that district, and that they're responsible for evaluations for that district. And then we have a head evaluator who's over all the evaluations in the state. So the goal, I mean, of course, you want to evaluate guys in the state tournament. That is great, but you really want to spend time with your new young officials, maybe the guys who aren't at the state tournament yet, the guys who are doing just the regular old tournament in the middle of the season. Those are the guys who really need the evaluations also, so they can get that feedback, so they can see where they need to improve. And then as you do that, then they will become more confident as an official. And then once they become more confident, become better officials. And then hopefully they will stick with officiating because they've been properly trained. They've had some success. They feel confident. I think if you feel confident as a ref, then you're going to keep doing it. You're going to keep doing it. You're not going to worry about what the coaches say, because you're confident in your ability as a referee. So that's evaluations are just really key to having successful officials at all levels, and high school, college, and conference. But in the major conferences, you got to get that feedback from evaluators.
I think also that opportunity to hear some positive news, even though there's going to be some, hey, look, you can get better here, right?
Yeah.
It's being a jerk about it, but I mean, let's face it. With officiating, you get paid, right? It's a passion. You do it for a reason. You get paid. Sure. You're not gonna become a millionaire or anything. But a lot of times, what I'm hearing is the number one reason that people quit is it's just not worth the verbal and mental abuse, like the pay and the amount of time that they're spending away from their family just to be treated one way. When if they were with their family, they probably wouldn't be being treated that way.
Hopefully not, right?
Yeah, hopefully not. But I mean, the opportunity to feel appreciated, I think, goes a long way, even in your day-to-day job, right? If you feel appreciated, you're going to show up and give your best.
That's right.
But when you don't, then it's like, is this even worth it?
No. I mean, confidence as an official. I mean, if you're confident as an official, then you're going to enjoy officiating. And then you're going to be a better official. And if you're a better official, then the coaches aren't going to be yelling at you as much because you're a good ref. So evaluations are the key to creating competent officials, is to have a good, whatever area you live in the country, you need to have an evaluation program in place to help all officials just improve officiating. You just gotta have it. We have to have it in order to capture, to keep, retain quality young officials.
Well, I think that's a perfect lead into where I'd like to go next, if you'll indulge me. This whole show, the whole reason is there's a couple reasons why. I think you guys have great stories that need to be told. I personally just love talking wrestling as much as you. But we need more officials, because even if wrestling was just growing at the pace that it had been prior to this boom that we see with girls and women's wrestling, we were going to be in trouble with officials. But now, when you see, at least in Ohio, girls wrestling is growing faster than boys. And so that means you need more officials to have quality competitions. So this show is, is trying to inspire some people to see someone on here, tell their wrestling story and be like, I could be just like that person. I love wrestling. Why not do it? So I guess my question for you is, can you tell us a little bit about the process of becoming an official in the state of South Carolina? Is it a classroom setting? How many classes do you have to take? Is there, tests, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's good. That's what I spent most of my morning on today. That's okay. I'm glad you. So I serve as the president of our state association, the South Carolina Wrestling Officials Association. So I serve as a president, and so I'm pretty involved with the process. So if a ref wants to officiate, then he would contact our governing body for high school sports for South Carolina, which is our South Carolina High School League, and then of course register, and then we use Arbiter, and so that official would go on and register through Arbiter, and then that his information would get fanned out to a director, depends on what area of the state he lives in. And then once that director gets his information and sees that he's registered, then he will begin to let him know about meetings, preseason meetings. So tonight we will have our first preseason meeting for the state of South Carolina, and each district is responsible for that. So you'll have your own individual district meetings. That's where you will meet within your area of the state. We will have at least 3 of those, and then we'll have 2 state meetings. So that's where the entire state gets together for training. So you'll have at least 5 meetings to go to before the season even starts, just so we can make sure that to begin the training process. So we'll have 3 at the minimum 3 district meetings where you're meeting with your local guys, and then 2 state meetings where you're going to a clinic to hear about rules and rule changes and things like that. So we've got 5 preseason meetings that everyone will go through. It should go through. Of course, you got to take the test to be proficient, and then we will partner you. But back before COVID hit, when we had a lot of officials, we would partner you, any new official, with a mentor.
Cool.
And that person would be, of course, responsible for helping to train that new official. And then that new official should go to his mentor with questions. He would even shadow him to matches, just to kind of see how he did things. So that's our perfect world. Whenever we have a lot of officials, that's what we would do to help to bring them along as young officials. So yeah, there's a lot involved. There's a lot involved, and we just need to do a better job of doing that with our new officials, because retention is a huge problem, of course, across the country right now.
What are some of the things that you yourself or some people in South Carolina are doing to recruit new officials or get them interested? Are there some things? Because I always like asking people from different states, because I believe that everyone does things maybe more or less the same, but there's probably something that everyone does a little bit different. And it might be the one thing that if a state does it, you know what I mean? You don't know, right? If we just keep doing things the same way, we're just going to get the same result. So what are some of the things you do to get new officials?
Well, we, of course, this is something that's been on our mind as an association here in South Carolina, but 2 things we've done. We figured out, well, we all learned about officiating when we were, just out of high school or out of college. So we are really, we formed a committee to visit all the college camps that go on in the off season. And then when they visit the college camps, they're talking to the college wrestlers, and we're giving them information about officiating. We're letting them know how to get involved with officiating once they get out of college, and probably not wrestling in college anymore. So what we made it a concerted effort to visit all the college camps in South Carolina. And then at our high school state tournament, we have we give all the kids flyers on how to become a high school wrestling official. So we give them the information, like I talked, how to register, who to contact if they have questions. So right now we're just trying to hit high school seniors and college seniors that are wrestlers. So that's what we're kind of putting our focus on right now, to recruit those young men to be involved with the sport. Of course, not as wrestling, but as an official, and just explaining to them all the benefits of being a wrestling official. Once you learn how to officiate, this is something you can do for the rest of your life, basically. Yeah. If you start as as a 23-year-old, 24-year-old, you can officiate for the rest of your life if you want to, until you're 60 years old or whatever. So we're letting them know it's a skill that you can take with you anywhere in the country once you learn it, and it's just something you can do to make a little money, and to also be a part of a sport that we all love so much. So, but what we are attacking or trying to really address, high school seniors and college seniors is who we are trying to recruit right now on a pretty heavy basis.
I like that strategy. It's very similar to banking, right? Like, those are the 2 breakage points when people leave their primary financial, is when they're leaving for college, or they're leaving college to go into the workforce or something like that.
That's right.
So awesome. Hey, thanks for sharing that. I'm going to share that with some of our Ohio officials, and I'm gonna actually try to do everything I can now because I'll be able to say I'm an official in a week. So,
Good.
So hey, I want to circle back. So you're Big 12 official, right? Conference.
Yes. Yep.
So the news earlier before football season is some of these teams are joining the SEC and everything. Obviously, there's no right. I mean, isn't like OU and a couple. How's that going to affect wrestling? Are they going to stay probably Big 12? You think?
I mean, I can't speculate. We haven't gotten any official word about what they're going to do. So it just wouldn't be fair for me to speculate what's going to happen. But I'm sure there'll be some residual, right? I'm sure there'll be some shakeup in the Big 12. But as far as an official word, Kenny Ritchie, our director of officials, he hasn't said anything. I'm just going about my business. I just want to get through the season and have a great season this year.
I respect that. I'm hopeful that maybe that maybe that helps. I mean, this is a long shot, but maybe that helps bring Clemson wrestling or something back like that. Maybe there's opportunity. Who knows? Maybe it could be good for us. I don't know.
I hope so. I mean, Clemson used to have a program, and of course, I'm right down the road from Clemson. They would fit perfectly in the ACC, right? They would fit perfectly.
I mean, they had a program for all those years.
That's right. So, but no, I'm just trying to get through the season, Bryce, and then I'll let those other guys worry about that.
I have to ask the hard hitting questions because that's what I'm known for. Right. So when does your season start then? How many more weeks you got?
Oh man, after the first week of November.
Okay.
So first week of November, we'll start open tournaments. So we'll start grinding around the open tournaments, which we didn't get to do last year because of COVID. So it'll be nice to get the open tournaments going. So my first Big 12 assignment, though, will be the first week of December. I'll be calling Iowa State. So that'll be fun to go up to Iowa State. So that'll be my first Big 12 assignment. But we use the month of November to get back into the groove with open events. And I will call another SoCon tournament, a SoCon duel. I think I got PC and the Citadel in the middle of November. But first week of November, dude, we're going gangbusters. My wife won't see me again until March.
The most wonderful time of the year for her, right?
For her, yeah.
So you just came from Super 32. Any cool stories or anything cool about seeing that many people together at a big tournament after having the last kind of 1.5, 2 seasons be the way they were? Or?
It was pretty cool. We were all noticing. I mean, these kids are really good at wrestling, man. Dude, I mean, I've been doing that event for about 10 years now, close to. And, you see it. But, dude, the weight classes are loaded full of ranked kids. And these kids, man, there is not a big drop-off between these upper-level high school kids and the college wrestlers that I'm seeing. Man, these kids are really, really good. So that's one thing that we noticed. Man, kids have gotten really better at wrestling across the country. And there were a lot of college coaches there this year, way, way more than what I'm used to seeing. We saw a lot of Big 12 coaches there, ACC coaches, guys, all the big programs across the country were there. So that was pretty neat just to see the popularity of the sport just growing in the level of wrestling. It's just really amped up, man. These kids are really good. And it's just a blast to go to the Super 32. And it's a bit of a grind because the kids are so good and they were really good this year. But man, it's just fun to sit there and to call those matches of high school kids who are wrestling like they've been in college. It's pretty good.
I think, my theory is some of the major streaming, like wrestling got popular about 10 years ago on streaming services and everything. And now we're finally, I think, seeing how much that progressed the sport and being able to watch these scrambles and hear people break them down. And how, before people were learning, Kerry Colette's story was learning his first takedown from the pictures, 2 pages of pictures. And now in 2 minutes, you can watch a video and learn your penetration steps, where your head hands need to be, where your leverage needs to be. And it's helped the sport a lot. It's insane.
Kids are good, man. These kids are good, but I mean, it's just impressive. And I'll tell you another good thing about these. They're so respectful. These kids are, man. They're just good kids. You don't hear a lot of boning and groaning about calls. They're just mature kids. It's just a pleasure to be on the mat with these kids and to be officiating with them, because they just add so much as individuals to the sport. So it's just neat to be on the mat with these kids and to be a part of the sport in that way.
Yeah, and hearing some of these interviews from these kids that are like in junior high or maybe just a freshman, and you're like, what? And now with NIL, you can't afford to not represent yourself really well, because if you're really good in 6th grade, in 5 years, that could be your bread and butter.
You can make some money. Yeah, you can make some money. That's right.
Exactly, doing what you love. And then to your point with the competition, I mean, geez Louise, saw a world champion go down. A freshman PA state champ who majored everyone get beat and placed 4th. I mean,
ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, dude. It's ridiculous.
It's on my list. I want to be there. I want to experience it. That and got to talk with Bill Olson, who does the Clash, and I'm just like, these are 2 tournaments I think everyone just needs to be at, just to understand what you just said. Like, because you can talk about it, but I think if I was there, it'd be, you'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm surrounded by greatness.
No, people ask me, said, man, you're doing that high school tournament. Aren't you a Big 12 official? I'm like, dude, these kids are good, man. These kids are good. I said, no. This is a great way for me to start my season by calling this level of competition, man. These are some of the best kids in the country. I mean, heck, man, you see in the finals, all of them are going to big time college programs, man. These kids are good. They're really good. So no, there's no shame at all in any official calling the Super 32 tournament.
Shoot, it's reconnaissance, right? These kids are the kids you're going to be officiating in the Big 12 in 5 years or 2 years.
That's right. I mean, that just makes sense, right?
Yeah. Some people just don't understand, man. Like, good wrestling is good wrestling. I don't care. I'll watch it any day of the week.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, man, I really appreciate your time and flexibility in making this happen. Your positivity is cool too, man. Like,
oh man, this is great.
This is good.
I love it. I love it.
I want you to stay on after so we can just catch up a little bit. Maybe talk about some banking stuff too. And then you really do have a full day of wrestling. You've got a class tonight then?
Yeah, we've got a Zoom meeting tonight. We got a meeting. So that's what I was doing today, helping our head evaluator. I was helping him with some questions we're going to present tonight, and helping to get that out. And so we got a Zoom call at 6:30 tonight with all the guys, all the refs in the state of South Carolina. So that's from 6:30 tonight, and then tomorrow I get to drive up to App State and do the App State wrestle-offs tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I saw that. You're going to Boone then?
Yeah, I'm going to Boone tomorrow. So
that place looks beautiful too.
Oh, dude, it's awesome, man.
In the fall, I bet you it's probably like a week too late, but I bet like last.
No, I think it's just right. So
with the leaves and stuff.
Yep, I think it's just right. So from what they're telling me, so I'll let you know.
I need to know. Yeah. All right. Hey, stay on. All right.
Okay, you got it, man.
Thanks, man.
Yep.